Welcome to the Full Personal Training podcast, formerly known as Full Life Fitness. We've recently had a little rebrand, so welcome. This is some of the first content that we're putting out under the new brand. Now, in this series of short podcasts, we're going to be unpacking some Q&A from our clients around health, fitness, and nutrition topics that they need a bit more clarity on. Hopefully, it's something you're going to find useful too. So in this week's episode, we're going to be looking at a question from Nick around hunger, sugar, insulin, and protein, and how those things are all linked. Now, have you ever eaten something sweet and 30, 60 minutes later, you're fucking starving again? You're not making it up. It's not in your head. You're not just a greedy bugger. That is actually your body's response to sugar and insulin. I'm going to unpack that for you a little bit. So what is insulin? It's become a popular topic of conversation in our industry, to be honest. It gets quite a bad rap, which is not warranted. It's pretty important. Now, insulin's a hormone produced in your body, specifically by your pancreas, and your body releases it as a response to carbohydrate intake. When you eat carbohydrates, and more specifically sugar, your body turns that into glucose. That glucose makes its way into your bloodstream. It can't stay there. If it stays there for a long time, goes up and up, eventually you'll die, which is probably not what you're looking for. So as your blood glucose starts to rise, your body then releases insulin to deal with that rise in blood glucose. Now, we can talk about insulin resistance potentially in another episode, because that's an episode in itself. So forget that term for a moment. Your blood glucose goes up, your body in response releases insulin. Now, insulin's job is to take that glucose from your bloodstream and shuttle it into your cells so it can be used for energy as much as possible. What happens now, insulin's been released, your blood sugar starts to go down as the insulin moves the sugar from your bloodstream to the cells. As your blood sugar starts to come down too much, this signals your body that you're hungry and you need food. So you've eaten your slice of cake, 30 minutes later, you're fucking starving, your head's back in the sweet cupboard. That's why. You don't need to eat because you've just ingested quite a lot of calories, I would imagine, from your cake. However, the alteration in your blood glucose is now telling your body you need food, and that's where those cravings come from. You can think of it a bit like a roller coaster is a good analogy, a pretty violent roller coaster. So the more sugar content in your food, more processed, and the less your body has to do to break that down, can of Coke, for instance, you drink it, your blood sugar rises very, very quickly. In response, your body produces a lot of insulin to bring that back down. It crashes very quickly too. That's the main cause of these cravings. Now, it is also worth noting the role and relationship of leptin and ghrelin with insulin. So leptin and ghrelin are two other hormones in your body. Leptin is a hormone that signals to your brain that you're full and you don't need to eat anymore. And ghrelin is the one that tells your brain that you're hungry and that you need food. Now, without getting too complicated, insulin interacts with these two hormones. If your insulin is constantly boom, 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 boom with your blood sugar, this can confuse is a poor term, but without going too deep, this can effectively confuse some of the signals between leptin and ghrelin. Now, suddenly, your body's telling you you're hungry when you don't need food. So along with your blood sugar crashing, you also have ghrelin signaling your brain for more food when you don't really need it. And this, obviously, from a nutrition and weight management standpoint, is pretty problematic. So if you picture your blood sugar constantly up, insulin comes out, brings your blood sugar down, you then head back to the sweet straw, boom, blood sugar goes back up and down, up and down. So you're getting these cravings. This is also then having a negative effect on the influence of leptin and ghrelin. So now you're constantly hungry. And this is obviously going to lead to some pretty severe overeating, which ain't good. So as part of Nick's question, he also asked about the involvement of protein. You've probably seen somewhere on the internet people talking about if you eat protein, it's going to keep you fuller for longer. And that is true. Protein is much more difficult or much slower digesting in your body than carbohydrates and sugars. So if you eat protein, the rise in blood glucose is very small. If you drink a can of Coke, it's very drastic. So a really good tactic when we're looking at a balanced nutrition strategy is to make sure that we're consuming protein with our carbohydrates. Fiber also is a really good option here. If we have high fiber carbohydrate sources paired with protein, your rise in blood glucose is going to be much steadier, which means your response from insulin, well, the insulin response to that blood glucose is also going to be much steadier. We avoid those big peaks and troughs and those crashes. You will probably see when you go to Marks and Spencer's, I'm sure other places do it, on their higher protein snacks and foods, there's a little, I think some weird sticker that says like fuller for longer. That's why. When you're looking at nutrition strategies, a breakfast that is high in protein, eggs, Greek yogurt, protein powder, these kind of things, even meat at breakfast time, will typically find that you stay satiated or fuller longer throughout the day, and you're not going to get those cravings. So to recap, insulin is a hormone that your body's going to produce in response to ingesting carbohydrate and elevating your blood glucose. These crashes in your blood glucose levels are what's going to give you those cravings, especially for sweet treats and all the shit that you know you probably shouldn't be eating too much of. And if you want to keep that blood glucose a bit more stable, then protein and high fiber carbohydrates are going to be your best friends for a more steady release of blood glucose and therefore a more stable insulin response. If these cravings are a bit of a problem for you, I would start with a nice high protein breakfast with some good quality fiber and see how that makes you feel throughout the day. Now, if you found this useful, please hit like, subscribe, and we'll be sharing something else next week. Hope that's useful.